Having a budget is the key to getting out of debt, breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle, helping you save, and showing you what you can and cannot afford. Today, I'm going to show you 12 simple steps to creating a budget. Plus, I'm going to give you a free budget template. Like free stuff? Like this video now, right now, and hit the subscribe button. And if you like saving money, then you'll love another upcoming video from us soon on this channel. You won't want to miss it. So subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. I'm J. Brian Jones, writer and content manager at Just One Dime. I used to live in one of the most expensive cities in the United States, Los Angeles, while only earning $12 an hour. Oh my gosh. Oh, how did I make it by on that? Okay, so for reference, that's $7 per hour under the living wage in LA, according to MIT. And that's also at the extremely low income level line in LA, according to the US Department of Housing and Urban Development. And yet, not only did I make it okay, living alone, walking distance from downtown, mind you, thanks to budgeting, but I saved money and it helped me get to where I am today. The only way budgeting works is when you keep track of all the money coming in, all the money going out, and you invest any difference. This means you end up with a net zero so that every single dollar is accounted for. Step 1, get your free budget spreadsheet calculator. This spreadsheet template is going to help by giving you parameters for spending in each type of budget category, like housing, utilities, etc., and helping show you where your money is being overspent. Go to jod.com/budgeting right now. There you will encounter a landing page. Enter your name and provide an email where to send your sheet. Once you have the link, it will take you to this Google Sheet. Google Sheets are extremely similar to Excel and number sheets, but thanks to Google, Microsoft and Apple users can both take advantage of this. That's why we made it in this form for you guys. Download it so that you can edit it with your own numbers. Because sometimes people are confused, like, hey, edit this. You got to download it first, then you can edit it. All right. So once you enter your income and expenses into this sheet, we'll automatically calculate and tell you how balanced your budget is. Step 2, calculate your income after taxes. You have to know what cash is going in and what you have available to spend. You should always be taking in at least as much money as you are taking out. Take an average of your paychecks. So if you're an hourly worker, don't make the mistake of going, okay, I make $15 an hour, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks in a year. So if I just multiply 15 by 40 by 52, no, don't do that. Actually, go into your bank accounts where you deposit your paychecks. Add them up as far back as they go and take the average. I know most of you hate math, but here's an example. It's really simple. Let's say you made $1,100 in January 15th, right here on the calendar, and $1,000 January 31st. February 15th, $1,080 in February 15th, and $980 February 28th. So then you made, add those up, $4,160 over 2 months. Divide how much you made by the number of months to get your average monthly income. In this case, $2,080. If you don't have taxes automatically taken out of your paychecks, like I do, I recommend that, then you have to account for taxes and subtract them from the equation because you don't want to spend money they don't have that, the government took. Your next thing to do under this step is to enter your income into this budget calculator. On the left-hand side of the sheet here, enter up to 3 different sources of income. For example, if you're married and have 2 incomes, then enter those. This is for your whole household. Pets and kids included too. This spreadsheet will add up the total income amount right here. Notice when you type in the income, let's do 2,080, stick them with the example. These are adding up. Here's the total income amount right here. and these filled in. So the spreadsheet will calculate your recommended monthly spending and the peak spending threshold. The peak spending threshold means that if you spend more than that, you are going over the maximum spending limit economists recommend. You'll notice that in the total spot, it says 87% here and 145% there. So why would we recommend this? That's because if you add up all the recommended numbers, it'll eat up 87% of your income. So this is kind of like a baseline of what to spend. If you spend at your peak spending threshold, then you'll be spending 145% of your income, or put another way, 45% more than what you make. So don't push all of your spending to the limit. You can't do all of this. This is kind of like a range. This is the most any economist would ever dream of recommending that you spend in each budget category. So if you go over any of these spending limits right here, these are going to be flagged red over here. Let me just show you what I mean. So this is 728. Let's say that your expenses right here are 729. Boom, this is highlighted red. So that's to show you this is the problem area that you need to address and lower. Between these two numbers is the range at which you should be spending. Once you put in your costs, you'll see what percentage of your budget you actually spend and how much you have left over, or how much you're in the hole. For each category here, you will enter in the costs for your entire household. So, for example, pet food comes out of the food budget, and kids' clothes comes out of the clothing budget. Some other templates will separate those. Not a good idea. Just have these come from the same sources. This is the simplest, most logical way that we can make this. Step 3, calculate your housing costs. Oh boy. So the recommended by economists is 25%. This peak spending threshold, when it's a problem, is 35%. Place your necessary expenses in the column here. So let's say you got a pretty cheap place, let's say $600. This is regular occurring, something that you can't really be flexible with. It's not right. You can negotiate with your landlord 1 month. Oh, can you bring it down a little bit? Or what if I just pay less and I use this room less? It doesn't work out like that. So your rent or mortgage is going to be a consistent amount of money. But consider other housing costs. People don't think of this all the time. Place these in the optional recurring column right here. So maintenance like pest control, let's say pest control is $2 a month. Air conditioning filters, that's every once in a while. Let's add on, let's say another 10 for there. So then it's $12 when you even it out. These are absolutely worth it, but if you absolutely had to, you could cut these and save money. Sometimes you got to rough it a little bit and then you can live better later. One-time expenses are irregular costs that you'll make over the life of your home. They're irregular and they won't happen each year. For example, if you buy a lawnmower, stand your fence, those are one-time costs. Too many people spend too much of their budget on housing. It is definitely one of the best places to save money in your budget. I know that home costs have gone up, wages not so much, but you really just got to keep searching and find something that's right for you. It may be less than your ideal, what you grew up with, which class you think of yourself as. Get rid of that. Just think, what can I afford? I need to stay within this 25 to 30% range. Calculate your food costs. The recommended spending amount is 10% of your total income, and the peak spending threshold is 15%. This means that food for everyone in your household should be under 15% of your monthly income, and ideally should be under 10% of your income. Your food costs are likely all recurring costs. You know, you're going there all the time. It's not something that's going to stop. And unless you have a medical condition that requires a very specific diet or food, then you won't have any fixed food costs. In this column here, the necessary expenses, yes, I know you need to spend food in order to live. You can really bring it down. It can go up and down, ebb and flow. The optional spending here in this column is not going to be zero, but it can cut down from, let's say, $350 per month. And let's say you cut it down to $300. See, this whole spending optional column is here to help get you into the mindset of these are where I can make cuts. Go through your bank statements and total up all of the expenses from where you shop for food. If you pay with cash, then you'll have to keep track of that in the future. It's much easier to keep track with card, but that's a different conversation. Calculate your transportation costs. So this is either public or private. Recommended 10% of your budget goes towards travel, cars, things like that. Your everyday things, not vacations or stuff like that. If you're spending more than 20%, then you have gone over your peak spending threshold. Should not be spending that much on cars. It's like a class thing and people think it's a reflection of themselves. Like ultimately, after you've had a car for 10 years, what have you really gained when all it is just the model on it? You know, it's just a brand and you think, oh, I'm fancy. Just save here, you know. This is not just the fixed cost of your car payments, which would go in here. Let's say for your transportation, you spend $200 for your car payments. Yes, you're under $208. That's great. Should you spend the other $8? Well, you're already going to, because you need to account for things like gas, oil changes, tires, registration fees, repairs, windshield wipers, and everything else associated with keeping your car alive. That's why in shopping for a car, you should consider the cost of upkeep, because not all cars are made equal. Calculate your insurance costs. Recommended 10% of your budget in this area and up to 20% for your peak spending threshold. So instead of housing insurance, go under your housing budget, and your car insurance going under your transportation budget, all of your insurance goes under this section. That can also include life, health insurance, pet insurance. Too many people didn't know that this existed. Pet insurance is great. Dental insurance, and any other type of insurance you can think of. You should spend between 10 and 20% of your income on insurance. You may have to shop around to get it all fit within your budget, but do it. You're spending more time to find places to save, and it's going to be worth it, because especially if you're going to save more than what you make per hour, invest that time, save that money. Calculate your utilities costs. Recommended 5% of your budget. It is peaking at 10%. Don't spend more than that. These are going to be recurring expenses, but they'll change from week to week. So it's kind of like where do you draw the line here for necessary and optional, right? So necessary are things like fixed costs and maybe a little bit of like, if I cut my electricity down to all of the lights are off and I'm just running the fridge. I don't know if you can figure that out, but then that would go in necessary expenses, because optional spending is where you're supposed to have that mindset. This is where I can make cuts. Make sure you go back as far in your history as you can in your bank statements and calculate the average monthly spend. Be sure to include electricity, gas, trash, and internet. These costs are usually less flexible than other things like clothing, but if you're over budget for utilities, save where you can by cutting back on resources like electricity and getting energy efficient light bulbs and appliances if your housing budget allows for it. Because these kind of budgets, these categories here, they're all kind of intertwined. You know what I mean? If you have any sort of confusion about what goes under which category, comment below, we'll answer your questions. Calculate your clothing costs. We recommend that you spend about 2% of your budget towards clothing. And if it's over 5%, that's your problem. Go into your banking history and add up all the clothing expenses and take the monthly average. When you type your monthly budget spend into this budget spreadsheet, it will show you if you're in the ballpark or not. So let's say $100 optional spending, and then one-time expenses. You don't get shoes that often, but you spent $60 on shoes. We're over a bit. So when you are using this sheet, also keep in mind that just because you didn't have one-time expenses for this 1 month doesn't mean that you shouldn't also be thinking about one-time expenses you'll have in the future. Become cognizant of your shopping habits. Moving forward, think of it as like an allowance. yes, please, I want more, that you absolutely do not have to spend on clothing. If you're under the recommended spending amount, don't feel like you have to go up to that. Just be happy with your spending less, because if you're watching this video, chances are you're trying to save money. Subscribe so we can show you how to do that in other videos later. Calculate your recreational expenditures. This is probably where you're like, oh no, I like my fun. It's okay. Just keep it all in line. You get to spend on this. It's part of your budget. You allot for it. Please yourself. So we recommend about 5% of your total income goes towards the recreational expenses. And it's a problem if you're over 10% of your budget on this. This is how much cash can go towards stuff like movies and cable TV. You don't just get Netflix, right? Games, theme parks, concerts, the works. Add up all these kinds of expenses in your bank statements and check your monthly spending to make sure you're on track. If not, it's spilt milk, spilt coffee, spilt cash. You can't get it back. Don't hit yourself up too much. Just be more cautious and cognizant in the future. Half of the point of making this is so that you understand about how much you spend. Not necessarily keeping track of every single dime, but as when you're first starting out, you really should. Calculate your personal miscellaneous expenses. So we recommend 5% of your budget spent towards personal miscellaneous, and 10% is the peak spending threshold. If it didn't belong in any of these other cost categories, and it's not a savings or investment, then it goes here. This will include things like haircuts, $15, how often you get haircuts, soap, toilet paper, random cost of living type stuff, toothpaste. So let's say that's all $110. Calculate your short-term savings.
Wait, Jay. Savings? I thought they were supposed to go in the same thing. It's all just one category, right?
Wrong. That's old thinking. You have to separate your short-term savings and your long-term savings. We recommend you spend at least 5% and as much as 10%. So we've separated these. Short-term savings is any money stashed away in your savings account, your checking account, or investments that are easily turned into cash. We recommend that you keep 6 months worth of income as savings that can be easily converted to cash at any given time. If a rainy day comes, you can be ready for it and not have to worry about getting kicked out of your home. Once you have that nest egg, you can be more aggressive with your savings and place your cash into riskier investments that yield higher returns. Usually that's the way it goes. The riskier it is, the better returns there are. And the less risky it is, the less you're going to get in your returns. If you have debt to pay off, like most of us nowadays, siphon this part of your budget towards repaying that debt. Calculate your long-term savings. We recommend that you allot 10% or more of your income to long-term savings. Any investments or savings that you can't make liquid in a short amount of time is long-term savings. You should stash away 10% of your income towards investments and savings like this. Startup costs for your business. We teach you how to build that, by the way. Click on the link, jod.com/freedom. Should you start to build one, also go into this long-term saving category. Decide how you want to spend the difference on your income versus your costs. So let's go back to our sheet here. So we're being good. Let's say we're doing 200 towards this. Actually, let's do 100 towards this, not 1,000, and another 100 towards this. See, right here, we're over. This is the raw total spending per month. So that means you're overspending by $152 and you are under by 7.31%. So let's adjust this because we're doing much better. Let's say that we, on transportation, we're taking the bus. So $50 a month. All right. And let's see, let's cut down on this insurance too. Boom. So if your budget looks like this one, then you have $98 left to spend, or 4.71 of your budget. So you want this to be a zero.
Why do I want it zero, Jay?
It's because you need to allot for every single dollar. If you have this here, where is it going? It needs to go into something that you're spending, even if it's savings. Just account for where that's going so you're cognizant of where everything is. Let's say that you want to get gutters installed. You know that you want to have that in the future, but it's not in this particular budget. If that's where you want to save and allot this money towards, boom, right into housing, one-time expenses. That way it is accounted for in the future. You can spend about $98 of your budget with this sort of income to this particular category, one-time expenses. But let's say we don't want to do that. Let's say maybe $30 because we're not updating a lot of the house. If you want to donate it or spend it on fun, that's your choice. But if you make money work for you now, then you could donate more and enjoy more wealth in the future. Keep to your budget. Now that you've made your budget, it won't make a difference if you don't follow it. Keep yourself accountable. You can track all of your spending with regular check-ins of your bank statements, but let me point out to you 3 other resources to help you stay on track for your budget. First, Simplify by Quicken. Second, Mint by Intuit. Third, YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. They're all apps that automate keeping track of your spending for you. In building a budget, you don't have to keep track of every dime. Maybe at first, that's what you're going to do and follow these. Then you get into the mindset of, oh, I can save a little here, I can save a little here. Just get yourself of thinking where I can make the cuts to invest into something better later. Stay tuned for this video here on how to control your spending and save money across all of these budget categories. Because remember, budgeting and saving is the key to getting out of debt, breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle, and showing you realistically what you can and cannot afford. Subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications so that you don't miss that video. It's going to be great. Get the free budgeting spreadsheet calculator at jod.com/budgeting if you haven't already. Remember, it's a free sheet. Google Sheets is free, and this is a great tool. I made it for myself. The team helped me make it even better. And honestly, I'm just going to use this version from now on. Like this video and tell us in the comments why you're keeping a budget. From Just One Dime, I'm J. Brian Jones. You have an awesome day.